What if the secret to living past 100 wasn't locked away in a pill, a hospital, or a high-tech lab hidden quietly in the way an old man in Japan started his mornings? Not with supplements or smoothies, but with something far simpler: a routine, a rhythm, and a bowl of soup. Let me tell you a story. In the heart of Tokyo, there lived a doctor named Shigeaki Hinohara. He was no ordinary physician. He practiced medicine for more than 70 years, and remarkably, continued to see patients well into his 100s. When most people his age were long retired, he was still giving lectures, walking stairs instead of taking elevators, and writing books to inspire the next generation. He wasn't famous because he lived long, he was respected because of how well he lived. And before he passed away at the age of 105, Dr. Hinohara shared what he believed were the 5 most important reasons behind his extraordinary longevity. They had little to do with medication, surgeries, or strict diets, and everything to do with the way he approached daily life. Small things, honest food, light habits, and a deep respect for the body's natural rhythm. You see, in the United States, the average lifespan today is around 76. But in Okinawa, Japan, it's not unusual for people to live past 100 while still walking, gardening, cooking, even dancing. These aren't people clinging to life in hospital beds. These are individuals in their 90s and 100s who remain mentally sharp, physically mobile, and emotionally grounded. The question is, why? It's not because they have better genes. In fact, studies have shown that only about 20 to 30% of longevity is determined by genetics. The rest? It's lifestyle, it's food, it's movement, it's attitude. And it's a pattern, a quiet, gentle pattern that helps the body stay young even as the years add up. I want to walk you through the 5 core principles that Dr. Hinohara lived by. These are not extreme rules. You won't hear me tell you to cut out entire food groups or follow fads. Instead, I'll share the same steady habits that kept his digestion smooth, his energy stable, and his mind clear well into his 90s and beyond. And I'll show you how small changes like stopping before you're full, eating the right kind of protein, and enjoying fermented food can protect your heart, your brain, and your independence. Each of these principles is backed by science. But more importantly, they're backed by people who've put them into practice for decades and seen the results in real time. So if you've reached a point in life where energy feels harder to come by, where digestion isn't what it used to be, or where you're starting to wonder how to stay sharp into your 70s and 80s, this series is for you. It's not too late. In fact, your body is still listening, and it's ready to respond to what you do next. Let's begin with the first principle. It's one that sounds deceptively simple, but could have a powerful impact on your metabolism, inflammation, and mental clarity. In many Western households, being full is the goal. We grow up hearing phrases like, "Clean your plate," "Don't waste food," or "Eat up, you'll need your strength." And for much of our lives, we've come to associate fullness with satisfaction. But what if I told you that this very habit, the one we learned from childhood, is slowly working against us as we age? Let me take you to a quiet kitchen in Okinawa, Japan. Here, before every meal, many people silently repeat a simple phrase, "Hara hachibu." It means, eat until you are 80% full. Not stuffed, not even fully satisfied. Just enough. Then they stop. It sounds almost too simple, but this one principle has quietly supported the health of one of the world's longest living populations. Okinawans have some of the lowest rates of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. They rarely struggle with obesity, and they age with remarkable clarity, balance, and independence. So what does eating until 80% full actually do for your body? For starters, it helps you avoid the most common mistake people over 50 make, overeating without even realizing it. As we age, our metabolism naturally slows, and our digestive system becomes more sensitive. Eating large portions, especially in the evening, can lead to sluggish digestion, acid reflux, bloating, and even disrupted sleep. You may not feel it right away, but the long-term strain on your system builds up. Your body has to work harder to process excess calories, and that can trigger inflammation, raise blood sugar levels, and put pressure on your liver and kidneys. But when you practice hara hachibu, you're giving your body a break. You stop eating before your system is overwhelmed. You allow your organs to rest. You reduce oxidative stress, the kind that damages cells over time. And without counting calories or following complicated diets, you start to lose weight more naturally, sleep more soundly, and feel lighter throughout the day. I had a patient, Helen, who came to see me at 68. She wasn't overweight, but she always felt tired after meals. She told me she often cleaned her plate out of habit, even when she wasn't hungry. And every afternoon, like clockwork, she would experience bloating, brain fog, and a need to lie down. I encouraged her to try hara hachibuno as a diet, but as a mindset, she started doing something small but powerful, pausing halfway through each meal to ask herself, "Am I still truly hungry or just finishing out of routine?" Within 3 weeks, her digestion had improved. She wasn't napping as much. Her mood lifted. And for the first time in years, she felt in control of her appetite, not the other way around. Science backs this up. Research from the National Institute on Aging has shown that moderate caloric restriction without malnutrition can extend lifespan and delay the onset of age-related diseases. In fact, in animal models and some human studies, reducing calorie intake by just 15 to 20% improved cardiovascular health, reduced inflammation, and even enhanced cognitive function. But this is not about starving yourself or eating tiny portions. It's about listening, slowing down, breathing between bites, paying attention to the moment your body says, "That's enough," and stopping there not out of discipline, but out of respect. Dr. Hinohara followed this principle faithfully. He believed that leaving the table slightly unsatisfied was a form of wisdom. It meant you trusted your body more than your cravings. It meant you were choosing clarity over compulsion. So tonight, when you sit down to dinner, try something different. Take your time. Put your fork down between bites. Chew slowly. Enjoy the flavors. And when you feel about 70% full, pause. Ask yourself, do I need more? Or am I already nourished? That one pause could be the beginning of a lighter body, a calmer mind, and a longer, more vibrant life. As we age, one of the most important questions we need to ask ourselves isn't, am I getting enough protein? But rather, am I getting the right kind? For decades, especially in the West, we've been told that meat equals strength, that a hearty steak, a chicken breast, or a few slices of deli meat are the foundation of a solid, protein-rich diet. But what if I told you that some of the strongest, healthiest, and longest-living people in the world rarely eat meat, and instead, they rely on something much simpler? In Okinawa, Japan, where centenarians are not rare but expected, protein doesn't usually come from steak or pork. It comes from the soil, from beans, lentils, tofu, and fermented soy. These foods aren't just tradition, they're daily essentials. And they might be the missing link for many adults over 50 who are trying to stay strong, but finding their bodies no longer respond the way they used to. Let's talk about why. Plant-based proteins, particularly soy-based options like tofu, tempeh, edamame, and miso, are rich in complete amino acids, meaning they contain all the essential building blocks your body needs to repair muscles, create hormones, and support immune function. But unlike many animal products, these foods are low in saturated fat, contain no cholesterol, and come packed with additional compounds that support long-term health. Take isoflavones, for example, naturally occurring plant compounds found in soy that act as antioxidants. They help reduce inflammation in blood vessels, support brain health, and may even play a role in hormone balance during menopause. Then there's the prebiotic fiber in beans and lentils nourishing your gut bacteria, improving digestion and enhancing nutrient absorption. These are benefits that a piece of red meat, no matter how lean, simply can't offer. But here's where it gets personal. I remember Franca, 73-year-old former engineer, who came to my office with constant joint pain and rising blood pressure. He ate a normal diet: bacon for breakfast, turkey sandwiches for lunch, and grilled beef for dinner. He avoided soy because, like many men, he'd heard outdated myths linking it to estrogen. But after reviewing the science together and showing him multiple studies from journals like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, he agreed to make a small shift. Twice a week, Frank swapped his red meat dinner for a tofu stir-fry. Nothing fancy, just tofu, bok choy, garlic, and ginger sautéed in olive oil. Within 3 weeks, his blood pressure had dropped by 10 points. His joint pain eased, and for the first time in years, he stopped needing an afternoon nap. He didn't go vegan. He didn't overhaul his life. He just made room for better choices. Scientific data supports his experience. A large meta-analysis found that individuals who consumed soy regularly had lower LDL cholesterol levels, better bone density, and reduced cognitive decline. Another study linked plant-based diets with lower rates of type 2 diabetes, especially in adults over 60. And yet, most of us are still clinging to the idea that real protein must come from meat. Let me be clear, this isn't about eliminating meat entirely. It's about shifting the balance. It's about letting plants do more of the heavy lifting as your body changes. After 50, your digestion slows, your muscle mass naturally declines, and your cells become more sensitive to inflammation. Giving your system a break from heavy, acid-forming animal protein 7 just a few times a week can make a measurable difference. Try this. Add lentils to your soup. Swap meatballs for black beans in your chili. Enjoy a tofu scramble instead of eggs once a week. These are small shifts, but they carry big returns. Dr. Hinohara himself ate tofu almost daily. He believed it kept his arteries clean and his digestion smooth, even well into his 90s. He trusted not just the tradition behind soy, but the science and the way his body responded to it. So if you're feeling sluggish after meals, battling joint aches, or worried about cholesterol, don't just reach for another supplement. Look at your plate, look at your protein, and ask yourself not, am I eating like I used to? But, am I eating in a way that supports who I am now? The answer, often, begins in a humble bowl of beans. Some of the most powerful medicine doesn't come in a capsule. It doesn't require a prescription, a pharmacy visit, or a trip to the doctor's office. It comes in the form of something warm, quiet, and often overlooked: a bowl of miso soup, a spoonful of fermented vegetables, a bite of tangy pickled radish. In Japan, these aren't exotic superfoods. They're staples. And for generations, they've quietly protected the health of millions, especially those over the age of 60. Fermented foods are one of the most underappreciated tools we have for aging well. They're not flashy, they're not trendy, but they are deeply healing. When you eat fermented foods, you're not just feeding yourself, you're feeding your microbiome, the trillions of bacteria inside your gut that regulate everything from digestion and metabolism to mood and immunity. Let me tell you about Claire. She was 70 when I first met her, a retired librarian, quiet and thoughtful. For years, she had battled bloating, constipation, and an uneasy stomach that often lingered after meals. She had tried fiber powders, digestive enzymes, and a half-dozen probiotic supplements she found online. Nothing truly helped. Then one day, a friend gave her a jar of real miso paste from a local Japanese market. She didn't change anything else. No new diet. No detox. She simply started sipping a warm cup of miso broth each morning. Within 2 weeks, her digestion changed. Her stomach felt lighter. She stopped napping after lunch. Her appetite leveled out, and she began to enjoy her meals again, instead of dreading the discomfort that followed. That's the power of live fermented food. Unlike pills, which often contain isolated strains, fermented foods provide a synergistic blend of living bacteria, enzymes, and natural compounds that work together, whole systems, healing whole systems. Let's look at what's inside. Fermented foods like miso, natto, kimchi, and sauerkraut are rich in probiotics, beneficial bacteria that help break down food, reduce inflammation, and protect the lining of your gut. But they also contain digestive enzymes that ease the burden on your stomach, and anti-inflammatory compounds that support your joints, your brain, and your immune response. Research supports this too. A 2021 study in the journal Cell found that participants who consumed a variety of fermented foods daily showed increased microbial diversity, reduced markers of inflammation, and better metabolic marker 7 without changing the rest of their diet. Another study in older adults linked regular fermented food intake with reduced risk of cognitive decline and improved immune resilience during cold and flu season. Dr. Hinohara understood this well. Every morning, he began his day with a small bowl of miso soup, not just for nourishment, but as a ritual and act of respect for the body and the gut that carried him through a century of life. In the West, we often reach for probiotic pills instead. But those capsules, while sometimes helpful, are not a substitute for the richness and variety found in living foods. And as we age, our digestive systems benefit from diversity and consistency, not just concentration. If you've never tried fermented foods before, don't be intimidated. Start small. A spoon of miso paste dissolved in warm, not boiling water. A few slices of naturally fermented pickles on the side of your plate. A tablespoon of sauerkraut with lunch. These small additions can yield big changes over time. And this isn't just about digestion. Your gut is your second brain. An imbalanced microbiome has been linked to anxiety, brain fog, immune weakness, and even depression. But a nourished gutone that's alive and diverse can support mental clarity, emotional stability, and stronger immunity. So ask yourself, what would happen if, instead of reaching for another antacid, you reached for a warm cup of broth? If, instead of skipping breakfast, you started your day with something ancient, living, and quietly powerful? You might just find that the solution to many of the discomforts we accept as part of aging isn't new at all. It's been in the kitchens of Okinawa, quietly bubbling all along. Somewhere along the way, we were told that carbs are the enemy. That to stay fit, sharp, and energized after 50, we need to cut carbs, avoid starches, and fear anything that looks like a potato. But in Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the healthiest centenarians in the world, the story is very different. In fact, one of the most powerful foods they eat isn't low carb at all. It's a carbohydrate that makes up the majority of their diet. And it may be the reason they live so long with such strength and clarity. I'm talking about sweet potatoes. Not just any kind, but a specific variety. The Okinawan purple sweet potato. Vibrant, slightly sweet, and packed with compounds that protect your body as it ages. Let's look at why this humble root has earned a place on the plate of some of the longest living people on Earth. First, sweet potatoes are rich in complex carbohydrates, the kind that digest slowly, release energy steadily, and don't cause blood sugar spikes. This is especially important after 50, when insulin sensitivity begins to decline and energy crashes become more common. Unlike processed carbs that leave you tired and hungry, sweet potatoes offer lasting fuel that stabilizes both body and mood. But that's just the beginning. Okinawan sweet potatoes are loaded with anthocyaninsa type of antioxidant found in purple and blue fruits and vegetables. These compounds have been shown to reduce inflammation, support blood vessel health, and protect the brain from age-related decline. Multiple studies have linked anthocyanin-rich foods to improved memory, better cardiovascular function, and even lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. And then, there's the fiber. One medium sweet potato provides more fiber than a bowl of oatmeal, helping to regulate digestion, support healthy cholesterol, and feed the beneficial bacteria in your gut. When combined with the potassium and vitamin C found in sweet potatoes, you're looking at a food that supports your immune system, your heart, and your digestive tract all at once. Now, let me tell you about Paul. He was 69 when we met pre-diabetic, always tired and frustrated. Like many of my patients, he had cut all carbs from his diet. No rice, no bread, no potatoes, but despite his efforts, his energy kept crashing, his cravings got worse, and his blood sugar still hovered at unsafe levels. I suggested a simple change. Add half a cup of steamed Japanese sweet potato to his lunch, not fried, not sugared, just steamed, plain, and clean. 2 weeks later, he reported something unexpected. His afternoon fatigue had vanished. He wasn't reaching for snacks between meals. And most importantly, his blood sugar had stabilized for the first time in months. He was shocked. "I thought carbs were the problem," he told me. "They're not. The wrong carbs are." This is where the nuance matters. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. Refined carbs, white bread, pastries, sugary cereals offer quick energy but lead to crashes, inflammation, and long-term damage. But complex carbs, especially those rich in fiber and antioxidants, offer slow-burning fuel that supports cellular health, brain function, and longevity. Dr. Hinohara often chose sweet potatoes over rice. He believed they were gentler on the digestive system, more nourishing to the body, and offered protective benefits that went far beyond calories. And science agrees. The National Institutes of Health has published research linking anthocyanin-rich foods to reduced oxidative stress, better cognitive performance, and enhanced vascular function in older adults. In a world where memory loss and cardiovascular disease are growing concerns, this isn't something we can afford to ignore. So, if you've been told to fear carbs, I encourage you to reconsider, not by going back to white bread and pasta, but by embracing the right kinds of carbohydrates. Add sweet potatoes to your meals. Let them take the place of heavier inflammatory starches. Notice how your body responds. Because sometimes, the key to aging with vitality isn't about cutting things out, it's about choosing differently, smarter, wiser, more in tune with the body you live in today, not the one you had at 25. In Okinawa, they've been doing this for generations, and their sweet, purple secret might just be the shift your plate and your health has been waiting for. There's a truth that often gets lost in all the conversations about aging, nutrition, and disease prevention. It's something I've seen again and again in my 35 years of caring for patients over 50. And it's this. The way we live between meals, the rhythm of our days matters just as much as the food we eat. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara didn't just live to 105 by following a good diet. He lived long because of how he shaped his time, his mindset, and his movement. He didn't count calories. He didn't obsess over numbers. He followed a quiet rhythm that gave his body and mind room to breathe. Each morning, he started with something simple: a walk, a small bowl of miso soup, and a few minutes of reading. He moved daily, not in the gym, but through life. He took stairs instead of elevators. He wrote books. He stayed curious. And he smiled, often. That rhythm wasn't random. It was medicine. We often underestimate how powerful structure is. As we age, unpredictability becomes stress. Our brains and bodies crave routine, not rigidity, but a familiar flow. Morning sunlight, a warm drink, a few minutes of movement. Time set aside for rest, laughter, even silence. These aren't luxuries. They are protective habits. I remember Maria, 71-year-old retired teacher who came to me overwhelmed by health advice. She had tried every diet trend, tracked her macros, and labeled foods as good or bad. But all that did was make her anxious. She was tired of rules, tired of feeling like health was a battle she had to win every day. So I offered her something different. Not a new rule, but a new rhythm. She began walking 20 minutes each morning. No phone, no pressure, just her breath and her steps. She started her meals slower, chewing deliberately. In the afternoons, she made tea and sat by the window, not to multitask, but to simply rest. And in her kitchen, she planted a small pot of herbs. Watching them grow reminded her that health isn't about control, it's about care. Within weeks, she slept better. She smiled more. And she finally felt that her life had a gentle beat again, one that matched her body's needs, not society's expectations. The science behind rhythm is clear. Consistent routines support circadian health, lower cortisol, improve digestion, and enhance sleep quality. Emotional well-being, cognitive sharpness, and immune resilience all respond better when your body knows what to expect and when to expect it. Food alone can't offer that. Even the best diet will fall short if the rest of your day is chaotic, rushed, or joyless. So here's what I tell my patients. Don't just count protein. Count quiet mornings. Don't just cut sugar. Make space for laughter. Don't just track macros. Plant something. Walk with someone. Write a letter. Sit in sunlight. Longevity isn't a single breakthrough. It's 1,000 small, kind choices repeated with love and respect for your body. As we close this journey together, I want to leave you with this. The 5 principles we've explored: eating until 80% full, choosing plant proteins, adding fermented foods, embracing smart carbs, and living with rhythm-errant rules. They are invitations. Invitations to live lighter, stronger, and more present. Not just longer, but better. If you're wondering where to begin, start with one habit. One small step. One breath between bites. The change doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Dr. Hinohara once said, "To stay young, you must have fun." And I believe that to stay well, you must also have rhythm. Your rhythm.